As the final echoes of the evening prayer faded into the cobblestones of the old bazaar, a new kind of energy took hold. The great feast had ended, but the connection remained, vibrating in the cool night air. Amar and Zikir stood amidst the remains of the long table, looking out over the stone bridge. "The food is gone," Zikir said, resting a hand on Amar's shoulder. "But the hunger for this kind of brotherhood has only just been awakened." They began the quiet work of clearing the first section of the bridge. The white linens that had served as a clean slate for thousands were now dappled with the history of the night, drops of pomegranate juice, crumbs of pied, and the salt of shared stories. Karima and Layla worked in tandem to fold the heavy fabric. "These aren't just stains," Karima remarked, her movements rhythmic and purposeful. "They are the map of a city that finally learned how to eat as one family." They stacked the folded cloths, their faces glowing with a tired but profound satisfaction. Efficiency was the language of the late hour. Luan and Enos gathered the remaining crates of dates and figs, ensuring that not a single piece of fruit would be wasted. "We take these to the doors of those who couldn't walk to the bridge tonight," Enos said, hoisting a wooden crate onto his hip. They moved through the narrow corridors of Bitpazar, their shadows lengthening against the ancient walls as they extended the reach of the table to the farthest corners of the neighborhood. The hundreds of glass carafes that had caught the sunset now reflected the flickering street lamps of the city. Hana and Arbin moved from table to table, nesting the empty glasses into wooden racks. "The water we shared was simple," Arbin noted, his voice low in the quiet night. "But the thirst it quenched was for something much deeper than drink." Hana smiled, her hand steady as she passed the last pitcher to him, the glass clinking softly like a bell in the silence. Back at the bakery near the edge of the market, the intense heat of the ovens had softened into a gentle, radiating warmth. Uncle Adam and Milos sat on low stools by the entrance, two steaming glasses of black tea held between their palms. Tonight, the bridge was wider than the river, Adam mused, watching the steam curl from his glass. Milos nodded, the soot on his apron a badge of the day's labor, feeling a sense of belonging that no map could ever describe. The physical structure of the feast began to disappear as Valon and Drayton dismantled the long rows of benches. As they stacked the heavy timber, they noticed how the wood felt different now, warmed by the presence of the hundreds who had sat there. "We are putting the street back together," Drayton said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But the street will never be the same." Valon gripped the other end of a bench, feeling the strength of their combined effort. High above the bridge, the brass lanterns continued to glow, though their work was nearly done. Iskra and Bessem began the delicate process of lowering them from the decorative poles. "When we put these away," Iskra whispered, her eyes catching the reflection of the flame, "we have to make sure the light stays in the people." Bessem held the ladder steady, watching as she carefully extinguished the small wick, the warmth of the lamp still lingering in his hands. Near the transition point of the stone bridge, the last of the elderly guests were heading home. Selma and Omer stayed behind to offer an arm or a guiding word to those navigating the uneven stones. "May your path always be as bright as this bridge," an old woman told them, her voice cracking with emotion. Selma and Omer watched her walk away, realizing that the bridge wasn't just a crossing of water, but a crossing of generations. Elif and Teoman returned to the fortress ramparts, looking down at the city once more. The glowing ribbon of the table was gone, replaced by the natural rhythm of the night, yet the bridge seemed to pulse with a new light. "The table was an invitation," Elif said, leaning against the cool stone, "and the city finally said yes." Teoman looked at the dark river below, knowing that the spirit of the evening had been etched into the very stones of Skopje. As the first hint of dawn began to gray the horizon, Amar and Hana met at the center of the stone bridge. The tables were gone and the bridge was empty, yet the air felt thick with the memories of the night before. Hana reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, unlit lantern, handing it to Amar. "It's for next year," she said softly. Amar took it, looking out at the waking city and realizing that the Vardar no longer divided them. It was the thread that bound them all together.